Hello, you are watching episode 1 of How It Ended, where I will discuss how a show ended. I went back and I started to rewatch a series I once loved. And surprise, but this isn't the first time that I've gone back and rewatched this show. But because I rewatched it with someone new, I saw it with a little bit differently. How I Met Your Mother is one of my favorite shows to rewatch. With 22-minute episode times, it's easy to commit to. Most episodes are quick and funny, but it can also hit the hard emotional notes. For me, that's what will always make a great comedy. You can't have the sweet without the sour. When I got to the end, it made me really rethink how the ending was originally hated. Did it deserve the hatred it received? No, it really didn't. It was actually a really great ending, and here's why. You may hear me say this a couple times throughout this video. The show was called How I Met Your Mother, not How I Lived Happily Ever with Your Mother. If you want a show about being happy together, go watch Mad About You. Or a newer reference, maybe a show like Happy Endings. It's in the name there. This story was always the long telling of the events that led to meeting the mother. The old adage here of, it's about the journey. It's just so true. I think this is forgotten because when the audience meets the mother, not only do we have 9 years invested into this, we see all the Tedisms in the mother. Kristen Milotti plays her brilliantly. Many of us fell in love with her here. We see how they both are alike, and we can imagine what a great lives they'd have together. So it hurts so much when she dies. That's not the happy ending from our happy comedy. To dive into why this isn't the case, we need to dive into the show a little bit. How I Met Your Mother ends up being about the family you choose and being there for them. It's about a show about this group of friends and growing up and getting through both the good and the bad with each other. From the highs of meeting your dad, getting married, to the lows of finding out the worst news of your father passing away, or your friends being there for you for both the good and the bad. It's a show about the journey. Now, don't stop. Others point to Barney's arc being ruined after great growth. In this series, he goes from being the most exaggerated man-child bachelor to a real man embracing his responsibilities, settling down with the love of his life. They see him losing all of this in his divorce, revert back to who he was. Two things: he can revert in some actions while still growing. The show teaches us this in earlier episodes, that sometimes adults still need to embrace the child's actions. And for Barney, these actions are based in truths. After his marriage fails, in a group like this, statistically speaking, it would be pretty accurate. Barney fails to pull off his marriage much like he fails to pull off his ducky tie. Not all marriages will last. As per the writing of this, marriage lasting 10 years is only 68%, and marriages lasting 20 years is just 52%. It's likely he would revert. Don't any of us do this after breakups? I'm sure we all fall back to being a little bit slutty, maybe wearing a pumpkin-like outfits. It takes another major event to knock him back on track to the man he grew to be, the birth of his daughter. This even fits in a poetic way, like Barney coming from a broken home and not knowing his dad. Now he gets to be the father that he didn't have for most of his life. This will bring us to perhaps people's biggest gripes about the show's ending, the mother, her ending in Ted and Robin. Let's remember, as I said earlier, the show is called How I Met Your Mother, not How I Lived Happily Ever After with Your Mother. Even after saying that, Ted and Tracy still do get to spend around 10 amazing years together, and that's more than many. But the show was, as explained, never about their life together. People thinking it was a blatant bait-and-switch job were never paying attention. The story starts with Ted meeting Robin. While Robin was important in meeting the mother, the story of How I Met Your Mother was about Ted and Robin. I will repeat that. The story of How I Met Your Mother was about Ted and Robin. To understand this, we need to look at when the ending was filmed. Way back when, they realized they had to film the ending before the actors playing the kids would get aged out. This was always the ending. The story was the journey, and the journey was always Ted and Robin from the moment we first heard.
Have you met Ted?
Were Ted and Robin meant for each other? Did they earn the ending? We spent 9 years hearing how Ted and Robin weren't right for each other, only to have them end up together. I'm here to tell you, most successful relationships start from good timing. We all grow as people, and How I Met Your Mother shows that in all of its lessons and character arcs. I think one of the biggest arcs that we don't notice is Robin's. She is someone who starts the show as someone who doesn't want a relationship because she is career-orientated, to someone falling head over heels for Ted. She realizes she too wants a partner. By the time their wants and needs just don't match up. The show hits us with this a lot. And you hear many people say we were told by the show Robin and Ted were not right for each other. The biggest reason for this is Robin at first doesn't want kids. It's why they break up. Then later, Robin finds out she can't have kids. While Ted says he's okay with not having kids, Robin knows Ted is lying. Ted really wants kids, and Robin doesn't want to be the one to not give Ted his dream. We, the audience, knows this from Ted telling this story to his kids as the narrator. What's really driven home is timing. Their timing was never right because of wants and needs. As the show continues, we see Robin probably did change her mind a bit and wanted kids. She just couldn't have them. In the episode where she finds out she can't have kids, we see this as Robin sits on the bench alone, telling her story to the kids she couldn't have. We later hear about how she has played a part as Aunt Robin to Ted's kids and how much she enjoyed it. We see her growth. This is the story of how Ted met his children's mother. One of Ted's two loves can't have kids, and the other love of his life passes away too soon. It's a bit of a tragic love story, and we see it play out thanks to a show that let us hurt in those sad moments like when Marshall loses his father, or here where Robin's telling us that she can't have kids. So asked if Ted and Robin deserve to end up together, they absolutely do. They also absolutely loved each other the entire run of the series. Earning their finale was not just the 9 years of the show, but also the time that we don't see between when the story ends and when Ted goes to get that blue French horn as the show really does end. The show sets off in telling us the story of how Ted met his children's mother. While we get a glimpse of how great they were together, that wasn't the show. It wasn't a show called How Great a Time I Had with Your Mother. The kids saw that. They know this. What we see from the daughter pointing it out was Ted falling for Aunt Robin, him growing up with the family that he chose and telling the family that he made about the family that he chose. In the story, there's love, love lost, and love found again. Don't let the title of the show fool you. And that is why the ending to How I Met Your Mother isn't as bad as you thought. For more videos like this, please like and subscribe, or just leave me a comment and let me know what you think.